there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
No, see, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just... Sometimes it's like there's this achy... I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, that sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. Ow. If you would just...
Don't...
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can go on? We can work it out. We can work it out. Keep on talking till I can go on.
That's just funny because it's true. I can be in the middle of some random meeting. I think of that. I just start laughing because it's just so funny.
He has humor. He likes
Yeah,
to laugh.
I like to laugh.
It's good.
Anyway, so today we're going to talk about what men should look for in a wife. And men and women we're just fundamentally different, as that video illustrates. We approach things differently. And, you know, you're hearing a lot of this stuff, and it probably sounds, oh, that's neat. Okay, maybe, yeah, whatever. But once you get married or even engage in a serious relationship, all of a sudden everybody's like, what did they say? And now you start to experience things.
So you're going, okay, if we are so different, why did God have us get married? And I think it's just the way it is, because we complement each other, and there's great things that happen when we're brought together. A man left to himself doesn't look so good. And a woman left to herself, wow, nothing will get done too well.
So really, I mean, we're so different, it's easy to think, how come God did make men and women, and what is this all about? And I think theologically, a man by himself does not fully represent the character of God,
Yes.
nor does a woman by herself. But when we get together we fully represent the character of God. I mean, you know, God is a plurality. You've got the Trinity, you've got different parts, but it just really fits. It's actually a good idea.
It is.
A plus for that, huh? Anyway. So we're going to take a look at what men should look for in a wife. And the first thing you might guess, like yesterday, I mean, the lady you should look for, guys, should have a thriving relationship with Christ. Scripture puts it this way: don't be unequally yoked. And that's kind of a weird thing, but, you know, in the days when you have oxen, you know, you have two oxen, you know, one big, small, or even different animals. They don't go the same pace, and you don't have straight rows in your field. You're going all over the place, okay? Kind of like me with a riding mower and I see a snake, I'm just... Anyway, so in a marriage, you don't want that. You want to just kind of go straight, all right? So here's the verse that says from Paul. Now, this is from Corinthians. Now, the church of Corinth was really messed up. About everything you could do wrong, they did wrong. And one of the things they got wrong was a bunch of Christians were marrying non-Christians. And Paul's like, hey, don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers. That means don't marry an unbeliever if you're a Christian. What partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? What fellowship has light with darkness? What accord does Christ have with Satan? What portion does a believer share with an unbeliever? What agreement has the temple of God with idols? So if you do get married to an unbeliever, I've got a list here, I'm just going to have to read it. You have two different standards, two completely different goals. You have different interpretations of life, different sources of authority, different viewpoints of how to spend your money, different philosophies on disciplining kids. There's no real intimacy because you can't be united. I've seen and known, I've seen this happen where people, it's like evangelistic dating. Oh, but I can, yeah. The guy will play along because, frankly, he wants sex. So he'll go to church just because he wants I'm just saying, you know what I mean? And so often it's so sad, then they get married and the guy picks up the remote and then there's no more church. I've seen it in my extended family and it's just really, really tragic. So just a heads up on that. You want to avoid that if you can. So the first critical thing is a personal, thriving relationship with Christ. That's what you want to look for, guys, in a wife.
All right, secondly, guys, you want to look for a woman that has beauty that's more than skin deep. So what you want to do is focus on the inner character, the gentle, quiet spirit, one that thrives and glows from the inside, the eyes that shine with joy and happiness. The eyes are what really give away what's going on in the heart. No matter how beautiful they are when they're young, when they're older, their skin will not fit the same. Okay, so you got to make sure that you want to have somebody that you can stay with and be attracted to all the way till they're 95 and wrinkly and hair falling out and who knows what else. But you just want to have that beauty that's more than skin deep. And with that beauty, you also want to find a girl that dresses modestly. Because if she is not dressing modestly now, that means she's trying to attract people, men, based on more than what's on the inside. It's just trying to be the external. So dressing modestly is really a key to say, hey, I'm content with myself. I don't have to show skin to be able to get someone to look at me. The more skin a woman shows, often the less respect that woman is going to get from men. So just a cue to you women, dress modestly because it's really attractive and shows stability of mind and character.
That reminds me when I was in Texas going to seminary in Dallas. It's a whole different culture. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know, where else can you buy a hot tub in the shape of the state of Texas or macaroni or anything? It's just like, it's a whole other place. Anyway, I often refer to it as a whole other country. But anyway.
And they might want to be another country someday.
Yeah, they do. So, what was I talking about? The girls in Texas. So I'm in Texas, and I go to the grocery store like at 6 a.m. to get something, and every woman I see is completely decked out. The makeup, the everything, at all times. And I'm like, where's like a normal girl in jeans and a t-shirt? I never saw one. I would come back to Nebraska for Christmas or something, and I'd see like what I consider a normal girl in jeans and a t-shirt. I'm like, that's so refreshing. She's just comfortable with herself, and you don't have to, you know, put on like a mask before you go out the door. So anyway, yeah, thumbs up on that. Just be comfortable with who you are. My turn?
Yep.
So another thing is, guys, look for a woman who's an initiative taker with an attitude of submission and encouragement. An initiative taker with an attitude of submission and encouragement. So this is like the dynamic duo. When you get a guy who's a hardworking, loving, self-sacrificing provider, marrying someone a woman who's an initiative taker with an attitude of submission and encouragement, that's a dynamic duo. That's really when things start to roll very, very well. Genesis really amazes me because in Genesis 2:18, you know, Adam's named all the animals, and he's like, hey, everyone else has a corresponding partner. I don't. And God's like, good point. It's not good that you're alone. So he makes a helpmeet, not just a helper. But the verse right before that, it's fascinating because God says to Adam, before Eve is even on the planet, God says to Adam, hey, do not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Eve is not even on the planet. This is where we understand man is responsible for the relationship. She can't know unless Adam is responsible in sharing with her who God is, what his standards are, what up and down are. Okay, remember I talked about that yesterday? Men are wired and designed to bear the responsibility for relationships in a way that women are not. And you see that in Adam and Abraham, a lot of other things we talked about yesterday. But anyway, so it's not good that he's alone. And that word, I love this because I think our culture, we twist this, maybe because of the feministic culture and the male passive culture and just general sin. We're just all sideways in so many ways. But when we read helper, we kind of think, oh, it's just a flashback and it's kind of demeaning. This word in Ugaritic, it has the meaning of to rescue and save. God made someone a rescuer and a savior through Eve to help Adam. And the way the language goes, she's a perfect fit. All right? They fit together. They complement one another. It's used 80 times in the Old Testament. It has the connotation 80 times, the connotation of military assistance. So God has blessed me with Donna, who's very smart, very capable, in some ways more capable in some areas than I am, but I'm the one that bears the responsibility for what happens to us, okay? So a lot of times I'll solicit her advice, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I just never would have thought of that. Thank you, that's good. And let's do that, okay? So that's an awesome thing. So I was telling some guys yesterday in my office, and guys, you have no idea how often you will lean on the strength, the faith, the character, the intelligence, the encouragement of your wife when you get married. And there are times when I follow the strength of my wife, times where I'm discouraged, I'm out of gas, it's hopeless, throw in the towel. I want to give up. And then I look at her and I see her faith and her strength, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. And then I follow it, and then I recover, right? And sometimes she needs to look at my strength to have me pull her along. And it's just a great thing to be able to admit, right now in this season of life, I don't know which way is up. I have no answers, and together we figure it out. It's really, really good thing.
That kind of ties in with the next thing that you should look for in a wife. A wife, she should build her husband's confidence. And so with that, when I'm a helpmeet with John and he's kind of asking some questions, I'm building him up. So here's a picture of something that we sometimes have run into. So we do a lot of remodeling of houses, and we have to put up cabinets in the houses sometimes. And so you're up on a ladder and holding the cabinet up, and you're trying to drill a big long screw through the cabinet, through the drywall, into the stud. Sometimes the stud is really hard because it's an old cotton wood stud from way back in 1900, because they're old houses. So John will be up there on a ladder, and he doesn't have anything to push against, so he doesn't have what he needs to push it in. So sometimes he'll say, get behind me, and get behind him and push against him. So I'll push against his shoulders so that he can get that power to push it in. And so that's kind of the picture of what I like to do in helping John do his work. I'm behind pushing him, giving him the friction, the pressure to keep him moving. But building confidence in a man is a huge thing for a woman. You women do not have any idea how much power you have in building a man up or destroying him with your words, with your eyes, rolling your eyes, with your confidence, even with how you talk with him in front of your friends. So if you beat a man down in public, that's your internal view of men. And when you are, and if a man is with you and he's interested in you and you start downing men, then that's a sign that, probably men, you should walk away from that situation. Find a woman that believes that men are a good thing, that they're created by God to be a leader and initiator. Also, trustworthiness. If a guy's telling you something personal and all of a sudden tomorrow he sees it on Facebook, that you just told everybody everything that he had inside, that's not trustworthiness. She needs to know that, he needs to know that he can trust you with his struggles, with his issues, and that you're not going to blab it all over. So I know John really trusts that I'm not going to say mean, demeaning things in front of, not only in front of him, but also to other people. So there's a lot of trusting that goes on, and that builds his confidence. So men are kind of asking the question whenever they wake up in the morning, can I do this? Can I do the task that God's given me to do? Can I do the task that my boss has asked me to do? And he kind of looks at the, when we're married, he looks at me, and it's just like, you can do it. Go conquer. So sometimes I'll say, go be bold, conquer, be strong. And that's just kind of the oomph that they need to get. So there's a lot that happens when you give them confidence.
And then correspondingly, I've said this before, that women typically wake up with a blank slate. Am I loved? Am I beautiful? Am I worth being pursued?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if yesterday I told her 20 times, she wakes up with a blank slate. And so every day, just answering that question. And honestly, inside, it's like, I don't get this. Doesn't matter, you don't get it. You just do it, right? Because we're different, and you just love sacrificially, and you do what you need to do. And that, I'm kind of joking about that. I mean, I understand we're different, but yeah, so if you can kind of understand that and work hard to understand someone, not demanding that she's like me. Okay. So the next one here, guys, look for a wife who displays kindness that touches others. Kindness that touches others. Now, kindness is not exclusively a woman's realm. I mean, guys can be kind, but God has wired women in such a neat way to be, I think, more sensitive and more kind than guys. And I've got a fun story here. We were backpacking when the kids were little. She couldn't go on the backpack trip. Who has been on a backpacking trip with me? Who? Okay, a couple of people. So she couldn't go on this trip, so I had to bear everything alone. Boy, did I miss her. So we hike about 7-8 miles uphill to 10,500 feet. I had some really bad boots at that time, shredded my heels, so they're just blisters, and I'm in a lot of pain. Plus, honestly, with a group, you go about twice as slow as I could go by myself. And so mentally, I wasn't winning that battle of patience, you know what I mean? So we get up to the camp, and I am just mentally shot. I'm in pain. And a girl sits down. I'll never forget this picture. She sits down on a log, and she starts weeping. She just starts weeping. I remember looking at her thinking, I just said, I'm going to cook supper. I just walked right by her and I have to eat. You know what I mean? I had zero empathy. So my observation is that on another trip, one of the girls was like, Dr. Holmes, is the trip like this when Donna's around? I'm like, no, it's better. Anyway, so look for a woman whose kindness touches other people. You know what I mean? God has really wired women in a way that they're more likely to stop what they're doing for the sake of compassion than guys are. You know, guys will be like, so you're bleeding. Well, suck it up. Let's go. What is up? You know what I mean? We're late. We need to get going. So we are different that way, and so that's okay. You know, it is interesting that the world's top 10 chefs are all men. Men are wired in such a way that we can focus on a singular topic, element, whatever, to the point where there's great sacrifice, great pain, and we get it done. Women have the ability to think of a lot of things at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
So we're very, very different, all right? You've seen some graphs I have in class that show you go to the mall to get some pants. Remember that graph? And it's just kind of funny, but we are very different. That's why men like movies like Gladiator and Braveheart. We're just like, wow, you gotta sacrifice for some noble cause. That just lights us up on fire. It's great, right? And so anyway, we're different, but really look for a woman who is able to. She should have sort of a track record of kindness that touches others.
So when a woman is also reaching out, touching others, in a sense, then she's not only focused on herself and selfishness. So if you see a girl that's just always all about herself and everything is so needy, she might need a little bit more maturing before she's ready to date. So it's not that all these girls are untouchable and you don't want to go for them. They just might need a little more time to develop some of the traits that we're talking about, and so timing may just not be there for her to be in that dating mode.
Let me comment on that too, because we're dumping a lot on you, and it's easy, I imagine, to be discouraged. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm just nowhere, and there's no way I'm ever going to get married. But what you want to do is look for trajectory, direction, okay? I am not who I'm supposed to be in 5 years. Hopefully in 5 years, I'll be the man I'm supposed to be in 5 years. So I'm on a path of growing and maturing, right? And so are you. You are not the person you are going to be in 1 year. Hopefully, you're going to grow. And so as you're starting to date and look around, look for someone who has this direction. And there should be some evidence that they're moving towards Jesus. I think Dr. Schmidt calls that the centered set versus the bounded set. But anyway, that's mission talk.
Yep. Great.
Who's up?
6, the wife, like a husband, should have a sense of optimism that braves adversity. So again, that you want to be able to have this sense of hope, optimism, humor, because there's going to be a lot of things coming at you, and if everything's like, oh, this is the worst day of my life, I can't get out of bed, that's not optimism. Okay, give her a cup of coffee and then see if she brightens up. So there should be some optimism and hope and looking forward to what God has for them in the future. Because of her trust in her husband, her sense of diligence, her sense of initiative, faithfulness, thriftiness, there should be a sense of hope by bringing all these things together that things are going to be okay.
Yeah, I love Proverbs 31. I mean, guys, you might be tempted just to photocopy Proverbs 31, give it to your girlfriend and say, hey, do this. Not a good plan because she's going to photocopy Ephesians 5, which says, husbands, die for your wives, and she'll give you that. So, anyway, still, Proverbs 31 is a good place to go. This woman is amazing. I read this and I'm like, that's my wife. That's my wife. Yep, that's anyway. So, up before dawn, buying houses and fixing things, and I love that verse in Proverbs that says that woman she laughs at the future. There's a sense of stability and security living women as God designed you to live that allows you to, even though no one knows the future, you're stable and you can smile at the future. You're not intimidated, you're not melting down. So that's kind of a fun thing. So that kind of wraps up some basic differences, what to look for and all that. I would say the first and foremost important one is, how is the person's walk with Christ? That's where you got to start. And you should probably like to spend time with each other. That's pretty important. But now, remember, we're going to transition to a couple little tools here. We talked about how men are designed to bear responsibility for the relationship, and women are designed to encourage and support. When those roles get flip-flopped, like we see, remember in Genesis 4 separate times, Adam follows Eve, remember that? Abraham follows Sarah, Jacob follows Rachel, and Moses used the same key words. You listened, you followed, she took, she gave, and disaster ensues. So you have this role reversal all through Genesis. It's very intentional to show us when we abdicate our God-given roles, then disaster ensues. Shame and blame, anger, broken marriages, broken families. And so here's what happens. The more I'm passive, that is going to invite her to be controlling. Now, sure, there's times in life where I should be passive, and there's times when she needs to really take control, but I'm just talking about, over the normal period of time.
Well, my core desire is security. And if I can't get security, I'm going to control to get it. I'm going to do whatever I can to get that security I need. And so I'm going to make him do what I think he needs to do to make me happy.
So remember in Genesis, right? God shows up kind of playing a little game like, oh, Adam, where are you? Like he doesn't know. And he says, oh, you're kind of a nice fig leaf there, buddy. What's up with that? And Adam says, that woman that you gave me. Now, imagine what Eve is feeling. Her entire life has been complete openness and vulnerability with Adam, and the only man on the planet, her lover, her confidant, is pointing to her saying everything bad in the universe started with her, and that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't given her to me. So he's completely blaming. You can almost see Eve just building up the walls, the manipulation, control. I will never trust again. I will never submit again. I'm going to control things. That way I will not be hurt. So women, you're in a very tenuous position because the closer you get to a guy, those walls need to come down, but you can get hurt. That's why you need to be very careful with who you date and how fast you take those walls down, right? Guys, Adam is turned from a strong, responsible initiator into a weak, self-protective avoider. His default now, our default is to just kind of sit there and let life go by and whatever. Last time I spoke up, I got yelled at and I never know what she's thinking. And so just, it just is a very negative place to be. And you will be there. We have been there and we will be there. It's just part of that cycle. But what you want to gain hope from is that, okay, recognize, yeah, I've gone passive and she's controlling, and then some very key words, honey, I'm sorry, did I do something that you perceived as unloving? Because love is her language. What's my language? Respect. And so did I do something that was unloving?
And in the same way I say, did I do something that caused disrespect?
And so I'm like, yeah, I was mowing the lawn and you said the rows weren't straight. Whatever.
No,
There's a snake.
I'm fully in support of his crooked mowing because I hate snakes, and it is his duty to save me from those snakes.
Anyway, you get the picture, right? So look at the ladies, look in the mirror, and every woman is not a control freak, but women, your challenge is, Lord, where am I in my willingness to submit, wait, and trust, and to be vulnerable? Men, look in the mirror and go, where am I with the issue of initiating and leading and taking responsibility, okay? So those are that's like in our backpack. Those are the things we have to keep thinking about and keep growing towards and making progress towards. So I've had fun doing that. It's been a good life so far
Yeah.
doing that.
I would say that, as we talk about maturity, everyone's not is going to be on a different wavelength in maturity wise. So with John and I, when we first got married, our ability I was very mature at control, and so I had a lot to do to change that. So in a sense, I love to control my situation, and we just have really had 29 years of growing in maturity in that passivity and control stuff.
Because I just grew up passive. I just had a lot of issues. I didn't know about that. In fact, when we got marriage counseling, I remember the marriage counselor looks at our test results. She's like, okay. Kind of like, good luck. Anyway, so there's hope. There's hope
Yeah.
there's hope for you. Just keep following Jesus. Ask the question, what does it mean to be a good godly woman? Ladies and guys, what does it mean to be a good godly husband, man? And just pursue those podcast books and whatever. It's great.
And I also encourage you, okay, so you may be in a relationship right now and you're going, okay, I'm not seeing this stuff going on in the woman I'm looking at. Or the woman may say, I'm not seeing this stuff in the man that I'm looking at. Get some advice, think about it, pray about it, and see if it might be a time to separate and break up and let some maturity happen, and maybe you'll get back together later. Or maybe God is saying, I want you to be a tool to help this maturity happen, and see if there's a teachable spirit to learn and to grow and to become that woman or man of God. If there's not a teachable spirit, then it's probably a time to say, I think we need to break this off. Get some help from some of your friends, talk to the deans or the RDs, and just talk it through and just say, you're dating, you're not married. Make some wise choices and say, probably not this one or not yet, and take a space, grow up, mature together, or mature apart first, and then come together if you're not ready to be together.
Sounds good. So I'll pray. Is that okay? Okay, good. Lord, thank you for creating us as men and women, and sometimes it is about frustrating and confusing. It's just sometimes really hard. Most of the time it's really, really good, and so we get it. So for those confusing times where we're kind of scratching our heads and maybe beating ourselves up with how often we fail and fall short, we just accept your grace and accept your forgiveness. And wow, what a great thing to have a spouse that knows me completely and accepts me unconditionally. So that's a model of your love for us, and I pray that you would continue to help us all, wherever we are, to move forward in the plan you have for us and to grow and mature and love, and we'll just be thrilled with that. So thank you for who you are. I pray that you continue to bless us today. Amen.